We were miles from civilization when it jumped onto the hood of our car. A mountain lion usually kills in silence, but this one was screaming at us. I still hear that scream sometimes. Not in my dreams, but when everything gets quiet. It didn't sound like rage. It didn't sound like hunger. It sounded like something breaking, but I didn't know that yet. At that moment, all I knew was fear, pure, animal, paralyzing fear. The road had been stretching on forever. One of those forest roads that feels like it was never meant for people. No streetlights, no houses, no signs, just trees packed so tight they blocked out the sky. Rain had started maybe 10 minutes earlier. Not a storm, just enough to blur the windshield and make the headlights smear into pale yellow streaks. My hands ached from gripping the steering wheel too long. I was exhausted. We left later than planned. Dinner with friends had dragged on. My phone battery was almost dead. No signal for miles. And all I wanted was my bed and my shower silence. "I hate this road," I muttered, more to myself than to her. She didn't answer. My wife was staring out the passenger window, watching the trees slide by like shadows. She'd been quiet too. The kind of quiet that settles in when both people are tired and neither wants to start a conversation that won't go anywhere. The forest felt wrong. I don't know how else to explain it. Every mile deeper, the air felt heavier, like the trees were leaning in, listening. I rolled my shoulders, trying to shake it off. "Just a few more miles," I said. "Then we hit the main road." She nodded. The rain tapped softly on the roof. Tick, tick, tick. The sound was almost hypnotic. That's when the car dropped. Not slowly, not smoothly. It was like something slammed down on us from above. Bang! Metal screamed. The hood buckled inward. The windshield shuddered so hard I thought it would explode. I shouted something, don't even remember what, and slammed my foot on the brake. The car skidded. Gravel sprayed. The seatbelt cut into my chest. Then silence. Not quiet, heavy silence. Something was on the car. I felt it through the frame, through the steering wheel, through my bones. Weight, a lot of it. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. What was that?" my wife whispered. I lifted my eyes and my breath left my body. A mountain lion was standing on our hood. Its paws were planted wide, claws sunk into the metal like it was gripping flesh. Muscles rippled under soaked fur. Its head was level with the windshield, eyes locked onto mine. Golden. Unblinking, too close. Its breath fogged the glass with every exhale. I froze. Every instinct screamed one word: run. Mountain lions don't warn, they don't announce. They ambush, crush, and end things quietly. I slammed the gear into reverse. The engine roared. The lion didn't move. I tried to pull forward. The tires spun. The hood dipped under its weight. Its claws screeched against the windshield, leaving white scars across the glass. Oh God, I whispered. My hand went to the door handle before I even realized it. "Don't," my wife screamed. "Don't open it." The lion lifted one massive paw and slammed it against the windshield. The glass cracked. I flinched, waiting for teeth, for blood, for the end. Instead, the lion threw its head back, and it screamed. Not a roar, not a snarl, a scream, high, broken, desperate. It ripped through the trees and echoed back at us like the forest itself was crying. I felt something twist in my chest, because predators don't sound like that. I'd grown up around wildlife, hunted, camped, seen animals up close. I knew what aggression looked like. This wasn't it. The lion pressed its face close to the windshield. Its nose almost touched the glass, and for a split second I saw its eyes clearly. They weren't wild. They weren't focused on me. They were searching. "Daniel," my wife whispered, "look at it." "I am looking at it," I hissed. "It's a mountain lion on our car." "No," she said, "really look." The lion wasn't trying to get inside. It wasn't attacking. It was trapped. Its tail flicked in tight, frantic motions. Its ears flattened, then lifted again. Its paws shifted, restless. Then it jumped off the hood. I gasped as the weight lifted. The lion hit the ground and bolted. My foot slammed the accelerator, but it didn't run away. It stopped at the edge of the trees, turned, and looked straight at us. Rain streamed down its face, its chest heaved as it breathed. Then it took a few steps into the forest, stopped, looked back again. My stomach dropped. "No," I said immediately. "No, absolutely not." The lion let out another scream, shorter this time, urgent. Then it disappeared between the trees. Silence rushed in behind it. The rain sounded louder now. My wife was staring at the forest, eyes wide. "It wants us to follow it," she said quietly. I laughed, a sharp, panicked sound. "That's insane." She turned to me. "That lion didn't try to kill us. That doesn't mean it won't." She shook her head. "Something's wrong, something's hurt." "This is how people die," I snapped. "They follow instincts instead of logic." The forest stayed still. No movement, no sound, just trees and darkness. My heart was still racing. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit on them. "Start the car," she said. "I am not following a mountain lion into the woods." She reached for the door handle. I grabbed her wrist. "Don't," I said, "please." She looked at me and I saw it, that look. The one that says, "You know this too." Another scream tore through the trees, closer this time, and beneath it, faint, barely there, something else. A sound that didn't belong to an animal. I swallowed hard. And that was the moment everything changed. I wish I could say I made a brave decision, that I weighed the risks, that I acted like some kind of hero. I didn't. I acted because something inside me wouldn't let me stay. That sound. The one buried beneath the lion's scream, it was wrong. Too thin, too fragile, human. "I heard something," my wife said softly. "I know," I replied, my throat felt tight. "I heard it too." The forest ahead looked like a wall. Headlights stopped just a few feet in. Beyond that, nothing, just black shapes and rain-slicked bark. Every logical part of my brain was shouting the same thing. This is a trap. Mountain lions lure prey. They fake injuries. They circle back. I'd read the stories. I knew the warnings. But none of those stories started with a scream like that. I shut off the engine. The sudden quiet was suffocating. Rain ticked against the roof. The cooling engine clicked. Somewhere far away, something moved. My wife was already unbuckling her seatbelt. "If you open that door," I started. "I'm opening it," she said, "with or without you." I stared at her. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't impulsive. She was the kind of person who triple-checked locks and worried about weather reports. If she was willing to walk into those woods, I exhaled slowly. "Wait," I said. I popped the trunk and grabbed the flashlight. Its weight felt pathetic in my hand. Then I spotted the tire iron. Cold steel, solid, familiar. I wrapped my fingers around it. "If that thing comes back," I said, "we don't run, we back away, slowly." She nodded. The moment my boots hit the ground, the forest seemed to close in. The smell hit me first. Wet leaves, mud, something sharp and metallic beneath it. The ground was uneven, roots twisting underfoot like fingers. I swept the flashlight beam across the trees. Every shadow looked like movement. "Stay close," I whispered. We stepped off the road. The darkness swallowed us instantly. The beam of the flashlight felt useless. It showed only what was directly in front of us while everything else waited just beyond the edge of light. Then I saw it. Two pale reflections ahead. Eyes. The lion stood about 20 yards in, barely visible through rain and branches. Its body was low to the ground, not crouched to attack, but coiled with tension. It didn't move when the light hit it. It just watched. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might give me away. "Easy," I muttered, mostly to myself. The lion turned and began to walk deeper into the woods, slowly, deliberately, like it wanted to make sure we were following. "This is insane," I whispered, but my feet moved anyway. Every step felt louder than it should have. Twigs snapping sounded like gunshots. Rain dripped from leaves onto my neck, cold and distracting. I kept the tire iron raised. Every few seconds, I swept the flashlight behind us. Nothing. But that didn't mean we weren't being watched. The terrain sloped downward. The trees grew closer together, the air felt colder, heavier. The lion stopped again, turned its head, waited. My wife leaned close to me. "Do you hear that?" I strained. At first, nothing. Then a sound so faint I almost missed it. A whimper. Not an animal, a child. My stomach clenched hard enough to make me dizzy. "Oh God," I whispered. The lion let out a low sound, not a growl, more like a rumble, and moved again, faster now. We followed. Branches scratched at my face and arms. My boots slid in the mud. Once I nearly fell, catching myself on a tree trunk slick with rain. The whimpering grew louder, closer. I didn't remember deciding to run, but suddenly I was. The forest opened abruptly, and the ground disappeared. I skidded to a stop just in time. The flashlight beam dropped into nothingness. A ravine, hidden by overgrowth and darkness. Vines hung over the edge. Water trickled down moss-covered stone. "Careful," I shouted as my wife nearly collided with me. I aimed the light downward, and my heart broke. At the bottom of the ravine, tangled in debris and mud, was a small body. A boy. He couldn't have been more than 6. His clothes were soaked through. One shoe was missing. His skin looked pale, wrong against the dark ground. He wasn't moving. "Hey," I called out. "Hey, buddy," no response. I slid the flashlight beam over him, looking for signs. His chest rose, barely. "He's alive," my wife whispered, voice shaking. "Daniel, he's alive." The lion appeared beside us, standing right at the edge. Its body was tense, head low, eyes locked on the boy. It made a short, urgent sound, like a command. I didn't think. I dropped to my knees and started down the ravine. "Daniel, wait." "I've got him," I said. "Call out if it moves." The slope was steep. Mud gave way under my boots. I slid more than climbed, scraping my hands raw. The cold hit me halfway down. The air was freezing near the water. When I reached the boy, the smell of damp earth and blood filled my nose. He was breathing but shallow. "Hey," I said softly, brushing wet hair from his forehead. "You're okay, you're safe." His eyelids fluttered but didn't open. I wrapped my arms around him. He was ice cold. "Hypothermia," I muttered. "We need to get him out now." I shouted up. "I've got him." The lion paced above us, tail lashing. Its head snapped toward the forest. That's when I heard it, a yip, then another, coyotes. My blood ran cold. Their eyes appeared first, glowing at the edge of the trees, then shapes slipping between trunks. I tightened my grip on the boy. "We're not alone," I shouted. The lion stepped forward, its body expanded, muscles bunching, teeth bared. It let out a low, thunderous growl that vibrated through the ravine. The coyotes stopped. One stepped closer. The lion lunged, not attacking, warning. The coyote retreated instantly. The lion held its ground, standing between us and the forest like a living wall. For a terrifying moment, I understood. It wasn't leading us. It was guarding him, and now it was guarding us too. "Daniel," my wife called. "I'm coming down." "Wait." But she was already moving. Together, soaked and shaking, we hauled the boy upward inch by inch. My arms burned. My legs trembled. All the while, the lion never looked away from the trees. Finally, we reached the top. I collapsed onto my knees, clutching the boy to my chest. The lion stood just feet away, close enough that I could see scars along its flank, old wounds healed badly. It looked at the boy, then at me. And for the first time, it stepped closer. I froze. It lowered its head and gently, impossibly, touched its nose to the boy's hair. Then it stepped back, turned, and vanished into the rain-soaked forest. The moment the lion disappeared, the forest felt emptier, not safer, just quieter, like everything was holding its breath. I didn't move for a few seconds. I couldn't. My knees were buried in mud, my arms locked around the boy's small body like if I let go he might vanish. He was still breathing, shallow, uneven, but breathing. My wife knelt beside me, hands shaking as she brushed rain from his face. "We have to get him warm," she said. "Now." I nodded, even though my head felt disconnected from my body. We stumbled back toward the car. Every sound behind us made my spine lock up. I kept turning, flashlight beams slicing through the darkness, half expecting the lion to reappear or something worse to take its place. Nothing followed us. The road looked unreal when we reached it, like it didn't belong to the same world as the forest. Asphalt, faded yellow lines. A reminder that civilization still existed somewhere. I laid the boy across the back seat. His lips were blue. His skin was so cold it scared me. My wife wrapped him in her jacket, then mine. She rubbed his arms, his legs, trying to bring warmth back into him. I fumbled with my phone. No signal, of course. I slammed my fist against the steering wheel. "Start driving," she said. Faster elevation usually means reception. I didn't argue. The engine roared to life and we tore down the road, headlights cutting through rain like knives. I drove faster than I ever should have, tires slipping, heart racing. Every turn felt like it might be the one that ended everything. In the back seat, the boy stirred. A weak sound escaped his throat. My wife leaned close. "Hey, you're okay, you're safe." His eyes fluttered open for a second, just long enough to whisper something. "Kitty," then he passed out again. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. 20 minutes later, one bar, I nearly cried. My wife called emergency services while I kept driving, following directions that barely made sense through static. "Yes, child, 6 years old, found in a ravine, hypothermia, possible injuries." She looked at me. "They're sending help, 10 minutes. Those were the longest 10 minutes of my life. Red and blue lights finally cut through the rain like something holy. Paramedics rushed us. Warm blankets, oxygen, gentle but fast movements. One of them looked at me. "How long has he been out here?" "I don't know," I said. "We just found him." They loaded him into the ambulance. A police officer approached us. Middle-aged, calm, eyes sharp. "Sir," he said, "can you tell me exactly where you found the child?" I tried. I stumbled over words, over fear, over disbelief. "A mountain lion," I said finally. The officer paused. "I'm sorry, a what?" I swallowed. "A mountain lion led us to him." Silence. The paramedic glanced up. The officer studied my face. I braced myself to be dismissed. Instead, he nodded slowly. "We'll talk about that later," he said. "Right now, you did a good thing." At the hospital, everything blurred. Bright lights, white walls, the smell of antiseptic. We sat in plastic chairs, soaked clothes clinging to us, hands still trembling. Time passed strangely. Then a couple burst through the doors. The mother collapsed the moment she saw the boy through the glass. The father followed, face pale, eyes hollow. The doctor spoke quietly. "He's stable," he said. "Severe hypothermia, dehydration, but he's alive." The mother sobbed. The father covered his face. A police officer turned to us. "He's been missing for 2 days." 2 days, I felt dizzy. "They've been searching non-stop," the officer continued. "Helicopters, dogs, volunteers." My wife whispered, 2 days in that forest." The officer hesitated. "There's something else," he said. The parents approached us, faces wrecked with exhaustion and gratitude. The father took my hands. "Thank you," he said. "I don't know how." His voice broke. The mother wiped her eyes. "He loves animals," she said. "Always has." She laughed weakly through tears. "We used to joke that he thought wild animals were his friends." The officer looked at them. "Did your son ever talk about feeding animals?" The parents exchanged a look. The father nodded slowly. "Yes, we found apples missing. Meat too. He said he was feeding a big kitty." The words hit me like a punch. My chest tightened. The mother whispered, "We thought it was his imagination." I closed my eyes. The scream, the eyes, the way it guarded the ravine, the way it touched the boy's hair. The officer spoke quietly. "We believe the mountain lion may have been watching over him." No one laughed, no one argued, because we all knew. Later that night, after statements, after shock settled into something heavier, I stepped outside. Rain had stopped. The mountain loomed dark against the stars. Somewhere up there, a predator walked alone, an apex hunter, a creature we teach children to fear. And I realized something that will stay with me forever. We weren't the ones who saved that boy. We just showed up when we were called. I didn't sleep that night. Even when we finally got home, even when the shower water ran brown from the mud on my clothes, even when exhaustion pressed down on my body like a weight, my mind wouldn't slow down. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back on that road. Back in that moment when the hood dipped, when metal screamed, when golden eyes filled my windshield. I kept hearing the scream, not loud, not violent, desperate. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my wife asleep beside me, her breathing shallow and uneven like she was fighting her own memories. At some point near dawn, I gave up. I sat up and rubbed my face. My hands were still scraped raw. Dried blood clung beneath my nails. Proof it wasn't a dream. I walked to the window. The sky was pale gray, quiet, ordinary, and that somehow made everything feel worse. Because the world hadn't changed, but I had. The next day, the police called. They wanted us to come in just to finish paperwork, just to answer a few final questions. That's what they said. But I could hear something else underneath. Curiosity. We sat in a small office that smelled like stale coffee and paper. The same officer from the hospital sat across from us. His uniform was wrinkled, eyes tired. He slid a folder across the table, search maps, photos, notes. They were close, he said, really close. Search teams passed within a few hundred yards of that ravine. I frowned. Then how did they miss him? The officer leaned back. That ravine doesn't show up on most maps. It's overgrown, hidden. Even dogs had trouble catching a scent in the rain. He tapped the folder. And predators usually don't linger around injured prey, especially not for days. My wife's fingers tightened around mine. You're saying, she started. The officer nodded slowly. We believe the mountain lion kept other animals away, coyotes, wolves, anything that would have finished what exposure started. I swallowed. Why? I asked. The officer met my eyes. That's the question. He hesitated, then continued. The boy told us something this morning. My heart jumped. He woke up. Yes, the officer said, briefly. He's still weak, but awake. I leaned forward. What did he say? The officer's voice softened. He asked if the big kitty was okay. The room went quiet. He said it slept near him, the officer continued. Curled up close when it got cold, growled when other animals came near. My breath caught. He said it screamed when he wouldn't wake up. I closed my eyes. That scream, it wasn't anger. It was fear. That afternoon, I drove back out to the forest alone. I don't know why. I told myself it was closure, curiosity, a need to see the place in daylight. But the truth was I needed to know it was real. The road looked smaller in the sun. Less threatening, like it was mocking me for being afraid of it the night before. I parked where it had happened. The dent was still there. Claw marks etched into the hood like scars. I stepped out. The forest was calm. Birds chirped. Wind moved through leaves. No sign of danger, but I knew better now. I walked to the edge of the trees, stopped. Something inside me hesitated. The woods didn't feel empty. They felt aware. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. I stood there for a long time, listening. Finally, I spoke. I don't know why you chose us, I said quietly, but thank you. The wind moved through the branches. Somewhere far away, something shifted, and I knew. Weeks passed. The boy recovered. The story spread quietly at first, then louder. News outlets tried to call it a myth. A misunderstanding, coincidence. Experts debated behavior patterns and rare anomalies, but none of them were there. None of them looked into those eyes. The parents invited us over once the boy was home. He sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, smiling shyly. He looked smaller than I remembered. Safer, he held out a crayon drawing, a stick figure family, a little boy, and beside him a massive cat with yellow eyes. He saved me, the boy said simply. I knelt down. He did. People think he's scary, the boy said, but he's not. I felt something tighten in my chest. That night as we drove home, my wife finally spoke what we'd both been avoiding. What if we hadn't stopped? I gripped the steering wheel. What if I'd hit the gas harder? I said. What if I'd panicked and run? We sat in silence because we both knew the answer. I used to believe monsters were easy to identify: teeth, claws, darkness. I used to believe danger always looked dangerous. But that mountain taught me something I didn't want to learn. Sometimes the real monsters are fear assumptions and the stories we tell ourselves to feel safe. And sometimes salvation comes with fangs. The days after the rescue blurred into one long, strange haze. I kept thinking about that scream. Not the sound itself, but the meaning behind it. Desperate, terrified. Protective, human in a way that shouldn't belong to a predator. I kept replaying the moment when the lion jumped onto the hood of the car. The weight of it, the claws, the eyes so golden, so alive, so impossible to forget. It didn't attack, it begged. It called for help. I still can't comprehend that. We returned to our normal lives, or what passed for normal after something like that. Work, chores, grocery runs, laundry, sleep. But nothing felt the same. Every shadow, every rustle of leaves, every cat that passed too close, my body tensed as if the predator might be anywhere. And yet, a strange part of me wished it was. Wished I could see those eyes again. Wished I could know it was okay. A month later, I got a call from the parents. They wanted to meet again. They had a surprise. When we arrived, the boy ran straight to us, clutched my hand, pulled me to the window. Outside, in the clearing just beyond the trees, a mountain lion stood. Eyes glowing faintly in the dusk. It didn't move toward us, it didn't attack, it just watched. The boy whispered he wanted to see me one last time. Then he waved. The lion slowly turned and disappeared into the woods. No sound, no scream, nothing, just gone. I realized then it wasn't a monster. Not in the way we think of monsters. It wasn't mindless, cruel, or indiscriminate. It was something else entirely. A guardian. An apex predator that chose to save life instead of take it. That night, when the parents told the boy's story, how he had wandered into the woods with apples and scraps of meat, hoping to feed the big kitty, I understood. The mountain lion saved the only human who showed it kindness. A creature we teach children to fear, a nightmare in legends, became an angel. I've told this story to friends, family, even strangers, and every time I do, they react the same. Are you sure? You're exaggerating. It doesn't make sense. But I don't care about making sense anymore. I don't care if anyone believes it. I know what I saw. I know what we experienced. I know the boy is alive because of a mountain lion. And I know the scream, that desperate scream, wasn't rage. It was a call for help, a warning, a plea. Sometimes at night when the wind moves through the trees, I swear I hear it again. Not near us, far away, somewhere deep in the forest where humans don't belong. A scream that carries across valleys, through shadows and into the soul. A scream that reminds me of that night. A scream that reminds me what courage really looks like. And sometimes, I close my eyes and imagine the golden eyes staring back at me, silent, watching. Guardian of the lost and vulnerable, the boy is back in school now, healthy, laughing, alive. He doesn't fear the woods. He tells me stories, sometimes small ones, about the big kitty that watches him from the trees. About how it scratches logs, rests near streams, and sometimes screams if it hears danger. And I smile, because I understand, because I know the truth, because that night, the mountain lion saved a life. We thought we were looking at a monster. But that night, the monster was the only angel on the mountain.